Hello and welcome to Mimo. Mimo is a professional coaching app designed around reflective practice and a growth mindset. Mimo is the ideal app for organizations seeking to encourage professional learning in the flow of work. Popular in education, in schools and universities, but now also recognized in other industries. Mimo guides teachers, principals, and other professionals through the practices of highly effective people. Mimo is designed mobile first, but also works on tablets and desktops. Mimo begins with Reflect and Grow, where professionals indicate with one-click gestures from day to day how they're feeling about their work. Here, a teacher was feeling effective as they adjusted a lesson plan to meet needs. And throughout the year, each professional can see a picture of how they're traveling. At all times, each professional has access to their professional learning journal, where they can enter notable events and save them as positive, negative, interesting, or innovative, which is a tilt on De Bono's PMI approach. And in a few minutes, you'll see how Mimo utilizes this information to bring value back to the professional. So far in Mimo, the professional has reflected on their practice, coming to terms with how they feel about their work. In the next stage of Mimo, the professional goes to Know Your Competence, where the professional can self-assess against their professional standards. Here we see the professional standards of a teacher, but these could be the professional standards of any professional anywhere in the world. The professional standards are accompanied by a series of indicators. Here we can see a teacher has plans in place in certain areas. They have evidence and some feedback from other users, perhaps a buddy, a mentor, a coach. And this user is also involved in coaching conversations with peers in other areas. And each user finds help in all the right places. When the professional drops into one of the domains of their professional standards, a whole additional world opens up to them. The professional will find support resources that are specific to that particular domain of their professional standards. Organizations can allow for individual employees or professionals to add additional resources, to crowdsource professional learning resources across your organization. Elaborations can also be added to create a common understanding of each standard, and the professional works through their self-assessment against the various standards relevant to them. As they self-assess, some professionals may aspire to higher standards. For example, this teacher may be considering moving to the highly accomplished or to the lead standard, say to be a principal. And as the professional self-assesses in the flow of their work from day to day, they can click to add evidence of their performance against particular standards, and they can review feedback they've received from peers, buddies, or mentors who can agree with their self-rating and give additional feedback to which the professional can go in and reply. Feedback is possible because of the tab over on the top right where the user can share their self-assessment with a buddy, supervisor, mentor. Mimo also includes a tool where the professional can add themselves as a coach in relation to a particular standard. That means their colleagues can look them up to obtain support as they plan for their improvement. And the professional can receive feedback on evidence they've shared as well. Evidence could be in the form of video, text, images, PDF, any file format. The user is also provided notifications whenever they receive feedback. And as I self-assess across the various standards, I start to get a picture of where I see my strengths and areas for improvement. Mimo is designed so that the professional doesn't necessarily have to self-assess across every standard in one session. Ideally, the professional would self-assess over time. Mimo users often say that they become far more familiar with their professional standards once using Mimo. And organizations often say that Mimo is a great way for their team members to level in terms of what the professional standards mean to support each other in moving to higher standards. Overall, Mimo assists organizations in moving beyond annual surveys and catch-up meetings. Mimo takes organizations to the next level of professional growth in the flow of work in a positive environment that builds collegiality, understanding, and positive work culture. So with Mimo, in the flow of work, the professional would begin to identify areas for improvement, prioritize areas for growth. Let's have a look at that. Let's say I was self-assessing in a different area and I saw that I was rarely doing something. I could simply click to add that standard to a plan. That means that standard would be thrown into a planning tool which I could come back to and develop over time to plan for my improvement. Let's have a look at a plan I've already started. Here we are. You can see by the P symbol that I've started a plan here. This is to do with students' physical, social, and intellectual development. So I click on the P to view the plan. And here you can see Mimo brings up a plan I've been working on, looking at understanding the ways in which children on the autism spectrum learn. You can see I have objectives, strategies, logistics, reflections, and perhaps events that relate to that plan for improvement. Here's the area where I mentioned you can find a coach. I already have a coach assisting me with my plan. I can also access resources which are relevant to the standard I'm working on. I can share this plan as well. So I could share my plan, not just my self-assessment, with a buddy or a peer. And here you can see feedback I have received from Paul regarding this plan. I can close a plan and then move on to another one. And so there's this constant flow of self-assessing and working on plans, sharing plans, getting feedback, and moving forward. Of course, I can click to Plan for Improvement and see all the plans I've been working on, or plans that I have not started yet, as well as plans that I've closed and moved on from. Mimo also provides me a great networking tool where I can add contacts within my organization and begin a threaded discussion regarding my professional learning. Then within Mimo is Manage Your Portfolio. Manage Your Portfolio will provide all of the evidence that you have been collecting to date and provide it for you in a highly organized way according to each standard. And yes, you can also share your portfolio with peers and they can share their portfolios with you. Here you can see Paul's portfolio with his evidence, which I can review and provide feedback to. Mimo includes a resume tool. Maintain Your Resume provides information about your experience as a coach in Mimo. And then we have analytics. Firstly, get the big picture, providing you a view as to your level of reflective habit over time, giving you a read of the aspects of your professional life that are driving you. Mimo also provides information as to the nature of your reflections under the De Bono scale I mentioned before. Get the big picture also allows you to see what percentage of your self-assessments you've completed. And it gives you an instant visualization of areas for which you have self-assessed as being strong or not so strong, or areas you are yet to self-assess in. So here I can see that knowing the content is a strength, but lesson planning isn't such a strength for me. All of this information is private to the individual professional. At this stage, you might be wondering, what do we mean by Mimo? Mimo is an acronym. The me part of Mimo is about maximizing my effectiveness. It's about me, the individual professional. Mo stands for managing our effectiveness, which speaks to us as a wider organization, as a team. And so this could be considered the me dashboard. Get the big picture. I can also see here my growth over time. I can click any date and obtain a view of my growth in different areas over time, developing quite a bit in knowing students and how they learn, but not so much down here. Next we have Manage Our Effectiveness. This is the Mo data, the Mo dashboard, which shows our progress as a team across the organization, how we are feeling about our work this year, this week, this month, how we as a team see our overall competence. So this team sees themselves as being particularly strong in engaging with colleagues professionally, but not so strong in assessing and providing feedback to students. We can see what the drivers are for how staff are feeling across the organisation and how much we see we've improved as a team over time. We can see the nature of our reflections, how often we're reflecting on positives, negatives, innovation. We can see a scattergram showing the relationship between positive responses and their frequency. that being an indicator of corporate culture and transparency for learning. And perhaps most importantly, we can see the top 10 areas where we as a staff are trying to improve across the organization. The areas where professionals are creating plans most frequently. This is great information for an organization that seeks to provide the support that's most needed by the members of the professional community. And so with Manage Our Effectiveness, you have very powerful data for learning across your organization. Finally, let's take a look at this from the point of view of the coach, the mentor, the supervisor. Importantly, just like all other professional users, you receive notifications. You receive notifications of when feedback has been provided, or when plans have been viewed, or where you've received an invitation to provide coaching to a member of the staff. So if you're supervising half a dozen or a dozen staff, you'll be able to keep up to date with what's going on through the notifications. Or if you're a member of the staff and you have a supervisor, you'll be able to keep up to date with feedback you've received from them as well, or from peers or buddies. There are so many different ways to utilize Mimo according to the professional culture of your organization. And so there you have Mimo, designed around the practices of effective people and effective organizations, where professionals reflect as to how they feel about their professional activities, where they go to know your competence to self-assess and to share their self-assessments and level with peers, where they have access to a professional network, where they build plans for improvement, plans of all different kinds according to the needs of each staff member, where Mimo maintains your portfolio of evidence which you can share and obtain feedback, and where you have a resume up to date which assists others when looking for coaching support and peer support. And then the analytics, the Me analytics of Get the Big Picture, and the Mo analytics of Manage Our Effectiveness. Thanks for reviewing Mimo. For more information about Mimo, or to find out how you can get your organization on board, contact us through our website. That's mme-moe.com, mimo.com. Thank you.